कुंभे पुनर्वसु जातौ केरले चोलपट्टने कौस्तुभांशं धराधीशं कुलशेखरमाश्रये घुष्यते यस्य नगरे रङ्गयात्रा दिने दिने तमहं शिरसा वन्दे राजानं कुलशेखरम्. Verse 7 and 8. कृष्ण त्वदीयपदपङ्कजपञ्जरान्तम् अद्यैव मे विशतु मानसराजहंसः प्राणप्रयाणसमये कपवाप्वातपित्तैः कण्ठावरोधनविधौ स्मरणं कुतस्ते चिन्तयामि हरिमेव सन्ततं मन्दहासमुदिताननाम्बुजं नन्दगोपतनयं परात्परं नारदादिमुनिवृन्दवन्दितम्. Kulasekara Alvar, a large part of his life he lived as a king. He ruled, and which is why most of his images that you see of Kulasekara Alvar is like in the costume of a king. It is putting a royal costume with a crown and all of that. So he is one of those few who have shown how we can be in the world and not be of the world. Be in the world, but not of the world. Now, did he do it effectively? It is questionable, because he ruled for a fair amount of time. It's not that because of his ways, suddenly there were a lot of other kingdoms that came and took over the Chera kingdom and all. None of those things happened. He ruled reasonably well. Right? It was not like he was completely doing off his own thing and the kingdom was not being run at all. He was governing, he was managing, he was doing all of that needs to be done, but not as much as he could have, because his mind was steeped in devotion. His mind was always thinking about Krishna, Rama, Narayana, and the day various avatars. And slowly what happened is this whole thing of the kingdom, governance, the Raja Padam and all that slowly dropped off. People realized, and when people told that he must probably hand it over, was the time when they realized that the balance between how much he could govern and how much time he wanted to spend in devotion was tilting more and more towards the devotion side. So when you see that, and then you realize we want to allow you to be in devotion. So people around him felt that let him continue being in devotion. It is so beautiful that he is in devotion. So let him continue to do. This is the feeling that we should also be able to spread amongst people around us. At the start, people called Kulasekara Alvar as a madcap. They called him as a madman. Right? What Raja is this? He is not able to. He's sitting and listening to Bhagavatam, Mahabharatam, Ramayanam, and all of these works. He's spending a lot of time doing all of this. He's not spending time as much as we want in governance, in kingly matters. But eventually they would have realized that no, let him be in that intoxicated world. Let him be in that. And this is what will happen when we show what is important to us, to the world. What is my priority? If I keep repeatedly showing it in my action and my words, in the way I think, in the way I look, speak, everything, if I keep showing what is my priority, the world will slowly, the world means what? The people around us, people who matter to us and the people to whom we matter. All those people will slowly start realizing that this is important to this person. And the resistance will slowly drop. There'll be expectations, there'll be this you have to do, that you have to do, you have to be this way, that way, that will slowly fade away. if you hold on to what matters to you the most. The resistance will slowly fade away. And at some point, people around will say, I see how passionate he is or she is. So let him or her be. Because I'll tell you, the world does not resist because they don't like what such people in intoxication, or such people, I just want to focus, I want to be devoted, I want to be surrendered, I want to do this kind of thing. When I say devotion, in any form, in anything, but all the more when you are devoted to the Lord. So when that devotion overflows and you're completely wanting to be in that space, people around, they resist because A, they don't know where it is going to lead you. Very close people who are with you in your family, your husband, wife, children, mother, father, all of them, they'll worry as to, we don't know where it is going to lead this person. It's kind of an unknown space to everybody. So that they worry about. The second thing is, by being lost to the world, they are also lost to these people. So they don't get his attention, his or her attention. Right? So that is also something that the world will feel around us, and hence there'll be resistance that don't go into that. Don't go into deeper engagement and involvement. And the third thing, the resistance also stems from the fact that they want to be in that state, but they are not able to. You'll see this in many people. Why do they resist you from going into that? Is because not because of the first two reasons, but somewhere they feel it's such a beautiful thing. I am not able to be carefree, intoxicated, and joyful like you are. So I am going to resist what you're doing. Saying that, how can you be like this? Don't you have a world to attend to? Don't you have this to do? I can also leave everything and go. But I am not going. You see, I am so doing all these things. So you should also not go like that. Or you should not continuously be in a state of intoxicated devotion. The third kind of people are those who want to, there is some inner, but they'll never express it. But in their hearts, if we go and look at it, they themselves will sit and look at it in their hearts. And we've done this with people. Look at even ourselves. We've done this with people. When you find somebody who is like so joyfully, carefree, going about, we in our hearts will feel that that is wrong because we are not able to do it. It's actually not wrong. We are not able to do it. So we feel in a way a little jealous about his condition. So we resist. We find reasons to say why you should not go that way. So look around. This is important. But eventually, at some point, if we persist, say 30 years, 20 years, we persist, but that persistence should come from within. We get so easily, we judge ourselves based on the way the world is judging us. But if I tell myself, no, this is important, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the world, I know this is my highest good. Doing my sadhana, my prayers, my chanting, my dhyana, my devotional time that I spend in thinking about Bhagavan, Krishna, Narayana, Devi, Muruga, whatever. I spend that time. It is extremely important because it is making me, it is enriching me, it is making me a better person. If I believe in that and I continue to do that, at some point in time, you will notice that people will align. Kulasekara Alvar is a great example to that. As a king, he would do, and imagine the duties of what we have is for one family, or at the most two or three families. As a king, you have the whole kingdom to take care of. You are the father of the whole kingdom. You have to take care of the whole kingdom. Somebody at night comes and mani adicha, you have to get up and respond to it. So being somebody who's responsible for such a large group of people, he is able to pull out time to be in um, this, and also wanting to govern well. As I said, he is not somebody who's not wanting to govern well. He is not somebody who's floundering away his time and into luxuries and passing his time. He is not that kind of a king. He is not frivolous, right? He is not frivolous. He is not spending his time and words and all of that in a wasteful manner. He is somebody who knows that this is important to be done, but at the same time, his heart is going out in devotion. So, hence, he is also spending that time. So, to such a person, eventually, what happens? The world will turn around and say that I now get it. This is very important to you. Somebody else can run the material things for you. So, don't worry. We want to release you from the bondage so that you can spend more time in devotional pursuit. This is what the world will come to you. It will come. It will eventually come. These are stories of people. See, people around Kulasekara Alvar may be a unique guy, but people around him are like the people around us. Not very different, right? May have been 300, 400 years ago, doesn't matter. Or 1,000 years ago, or even 10 years ago, doesn't matter. People around us are the same. In terms of when you say people, it's just human beings with the same tendencies and qualities and all of that around you. So remember, when we keep exhibiting what is most important, over time, you will see that the world around you forms in the right way. It aligns itself in the right way. And Sacha Kulasekara Alvar continues to say, Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam. O Krishna, may I remain entangled, Pankaja, lotus. So the lotus stems, you look at the lotus stems, they come out, they're not very rigid. The lotus stems are tender. And when you have multiple lotuses, the stems kind of entangle with each other. So he says your feet is like that. Your feet is like the lotus stems that have entangled with each other. Your feet is so beautiful. May I be lost in that. Adya eva, now at this moment, may vishatu, may my mind manasa rajahamsaha. May my mind, the swan of my mind, enter into that lotus pond. So he is bringing a metaphorical visualization here, how the swan enters the lotus pond and it swims around lotuses. So there are lotuses and then the swan will swim around them. So he's saying, let my mind swim around your lotus feet like that. So wherever I see lotuses on the pond, imagine it's Krishna's feet and let my mind swim around that. Rajahamsaha, Manasa Rajahamsaha. He's calling the mind the Rajahamsa, royal swan. Because when the mind is it has been purified, Chitta Shuddhi has happened, it has been purified. Now the mind is only wanting to think of Sattva. The mind is only wanting to, naturally, the tendency of the mind, we have trained. As we train over and over and over and over and over and over again, the mind comes to a state, there is chitta shuddhi that happens, which means there is some kind of purification that constantly happens. And the mind comes to a place of wanting to only think sattva. It's not thinking, it is not wanting to think rajasic and tamasic thoughts because somebody has told you should not think, because it has found joy in thinking sattva. See, as we keep speaking about this, it is the tendency that you want to drive yourself towards. If you want to feel joyful within, we have to keep driving that tendency, the tendency of sattva. Keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing. At some point, it'll find joy in that. Like how we say a coffee, you give coffee to a small child, it will not drink because it is actually bitter. But just because we are so used to drinking coffees for so many years, in the morning it feels like amrita. கார்த்தால எழுந்து சுட சுட ஃபில்டர் காஃபி ஒன்று குடிக்கிறோம்ல. You give it to a small child, it'll அப்படின்னு துப்பிடும் அது. That's because it is not, actually it is not amrita, it is not tasty. We have acquired the taste by drinking that hot. Dushyant Sridhar describes this. There is a verse he says either from the Ramayana or some place, and he says that is coffee. Yeah, I'll try to post it sometime. It's very nice. He picks a Sanskrit verse which describes the color of coffee and the drink, etc. And then he says, at the end, he says Paramanandam, something like Paramanandam comes. So then he tells what is being spoken about. It's coffee. But of course, it's some verse that talks about the actual Paramanandam. But for us, it's like that, right? We have acquired this taste, this joy of receiving joy from coffee. We have acquired it. It is not something that we will. In fact, for many years, I remember I was not able to drink coffee at all. And I remember being a teenager or even while getting to work, till I came into Chennai, I would, even if I have to visit somebody's house, I'll ask for something like a Boost or a Bonvita. When I came to Chennai, people will look at me and laugh. I'll say, so, but somewhere I think in Chennai, got the habit of drinking coffee. Huh?
காபி காபி வந்து பெரியவா தான் குடிக்கணும், பூஸ்ட் போட்டுட்டா குழந்தைகள் குடிக்கணும்னு ஒரு டெண்டன்சி நம்மத்துல இருந்தது.
Correct. So we also, yeah, exactly. We don't introduce coffee to kids also, right? So only elders must drink coffee was the tradition in the household. So, but then later I realized, when Chennai came and then slowly it caught on and all that. In fact, my wife, even today, my wife and daughter, they don't drink coffee, right? But anyways, the point is not about coffee. The point is about acquiring a taste, right? So acquiring a taste is something that you can do on anything, pretty much. There is a fruit called, what is that fruit, Makavi, in Singapore? Durian. A fruit called durian in Singapore. And I think Sundar Mama Mami may know, in Thailand also it is. In the Southeast Asia, it's a very popular fruit. It looks like the jackfruit, but it is the texture is very different. The smell is very strong, very, very strong smell. So normally when you go to it, it'll feel you'll be repelled by it. But then it's such a delicacy there in Southeast Asia and many of these countries, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, and all. And those who like it, they love it. It's like that, it's like they are like passionate and passionately loving, like how we are about coffee, they're about durian. But how did this come about? It's not something that they plucked off and then they started consuming it as great. No, it grew upon them. So like that, when we are able to, why I'm bringing these examples is when we are able to create these tendencies, whether consciously or unconsciously, right? Same thing with drinking. And people go and drink. Same thing with smoking. Smoking is so bitter, so unpleasant. Really, it's very unpleasant and discomforting. But people who get to the stage of being chain smokers, which means one after the other, one after the other. You don't hear chain coffee drinkers, right? But chain smokers you hear very often. Because they finish a puff, or they finish a cigarette, then a couple of minutes they take another one. How did this come about? Consciously or unconsciously, you're repeatedly doing something, it becomes a tendency. We've spoken about being how something becomes a tendency. So the important thing is, if we believe, that's why satsanga is important. When you are with the right kind of people that you want to be in a certain state of mind, you sit around people who are expressing devotion, doing dhyana, doing japa, doing mananam, listening to Bhagavatam, listening to Upanyasam. If you're around such people, whether we like it or not, naturally we'll get tuned to that kind of, um, um, you will develop a liking to it. This is what we have to do. Actively, we have to pursue this. Make this as a tendency. So he's saying, Manasa Rajahamsaha. Rajahamsa, the mind is now purified through repeatedly doing these activities. Whether I like it or not, I will chant Lalita Sahasranama every Friday. I will do Vishnu Sahasranama every Saturday. It doesn't matter. People around, I'll tell you, do it for 10 years. People around will come and remind you, hey, Niki Vishnu Sahasranam challalani ni appadinu. They'll come and remind you. This is how you build those tendencies. And then when those tendencies are built in a certain way, you become like that. When you become, and then the world will start looking at you, and they will, as I said, there are those three types of people. There'll be resistance, but at some point they will say, okay, let him at least be joyful. Let him at least be, let at least he be happy. ஒரு பாயிண்ட்ல people will give up to say, சரி அவனாவது சந்தோஷமா இருக்கட்டுமே, நிம்மதியா இருக்கட்டுமே. I have not found my ways. I have not found, let him be. The world will either give up on you or they will release you. In either ways, it's good for you only, right? So that way, the building of the mind from the manas that we have right now to Raja Manas, to become a royal swan of a mind, is through developing these tendencies constantly. And then when the mind becomes Raja Manas, Manasa Raja Hamsaha, then it is going around the feet of Krishna. It's going around the entangle. It is willing to entangle itself. Panjarantam. It is willing to entangle itself in the feet of Krishna. I don't want to be entangled in the world, oh Krishna. I'm willing to be entangled in this, your feet. I'm willing to be entangled. If I have to be entangled, let me be entangled there, not in the world. Because being entangled in the world, it's going to distract me. It is going to fragment me. Right? Being entangled in the world fragments you, dissipates your energy in so many different directions. But you're entangled in the feet of the Lord. There is the mind will not have too many other places to go to. You're filling it with that. प्राण प्रयाण समये कफवात पित्तैः कंठ अवरोधन विधौ स्मरणं कुतस्ते. Oh Lord, if I don't put my mind to you in your feet, in your thoughts now, how will I be able to do that at the time of prana prayana samaye, at the time of death? At the time of death, kapha vata pittaihi, all of these things will start, the mucus, the kapha, all of this will start welling up in the system. And if I want to even say Narayana, I'll not be able to say. I'll get choked up. Why? Physically. Just physically, you will become like that. It's a natural decay process. It has to. The body has to decay. It will go through the decay process. While it goes through the decay process, I'll be worried so much. Ayyo, enala solla mudle. Ayyo, enala keka mudle. Ayyo, enala paaka mudle. Mind will be like, oh my God, my sense organs are failing. And when the sense organs start failing, there'll be more despair. Because remember this, if Just imagine, see, these are important mental exercises for us to run. You've seen people around you who are very old, who become slowly, their organs deplete in its ability to do anything, right? In its ability to listen, to hear, to see, to taste, to do whatever. Imagine yourself in that condition and imagine that there is pain in the body, discomfort in the body, you're not able to get up, you need somebody to help, and all of that. And at that time, will you be able to say Narayana, Narayana? Or will you feel, will the attention and focus go towards your decaying body? Even now, if you fall sick for a couple of days, where does your mind go? Mind goes to the body. My body is, ayo, it's like this, ayo, it's like that. And you know it's temporary. Even then, we are not able to deal with discomforts in a temporary mode. When you're aging, there is no reversal. There is no age reversal that you can go to and get done. You can do Botox to lift your face. Your age is not going to go. You are only going in the forward direction in terms of age. So when you are there, this ailments, this discomforts are not going to reverse. It's only going to get worse. Think about it. And at that time, if we are only complaining about our condition, our situation, if our mind, our tendencies are built to do that, where will you think about Bhagavan? Where will you think about Narayana? And it will be a very, very painful situation. So when is the time to train ourselves? Right now. Adya eva. Saying Adya eva me vishatu manasa raja hamsa. Right now, right now, right now. When is the time? Right now. When anybody asks, Bhagavan, when should I start doing dhyana or japa? Or somebody asking me other day, when should I start? Is the next Amavasya Tithi a good day? I say, what do you start today? If you're feeling like wanting to do something, start right now. Finished. That's it. Because this inspiration doesn't stay also. Right? If you're getting an inspiration to do something, and if you don't start at the time of inspiration, you wait for some Amavasa, some Paurnami, some Ekadashi. By that time that comes, you'll be having 100 other things that you want to do. And then the mind will say, okay, maybe not this time, I'll pick it up another time. Poche. You've lost a very, very solid opportunity. And this is how we do in our life. We lose these opportunities. When it rises in you, that's the time. Go. Take it up. Start. Pick it up. Do it. Because these intensities actually come in spurs of moments through motivation from the outside or sometimes just from inside. When you get a motivation, suddenly you saw something, you heard something, you feel like you want to sit and meditate at that time. Don't worry, sit and meditate. If you want to do dhyana, japam that time, sit and do japa. Don't let that moment of that beautiful, that inner, some kind of that inner energy that is rising, don't ignore it. अद्य एव मे विशतु मानसराजहंसः प्राणप्रयाणसमये कफवातपित्तैः कंठ अवरोधन विधौ स्मरणं कुतस्ते. How can I think about you when my throat is all choking up, oh Bhagavan? Then he goes on to the eighth one. He says, Chintayami harimeva santatam. Chintayami harim eva santatam. Always let me keep thinking about Lord Hari. Mandahasa muditananambujam. May that a beautiful smiling face, joyful smiling face keep coming in my mind. Nandagopa Tanayam Paratparam. He is the son of Nandagopa. The Gopa who is called Nanda. Tanayam. Tanayam. He is none other than the Supreme. That which you think of as this Nandagopa, the son of the cowherd Nanda, he is the Supreme Lord. Narada Adi Muni Vrindavanditam. Narada, including Narada, all the great munis, they worship him. They think about him. So here he is giving a reference to the Krishna that we are worshipping. The Krishna that I am talking about, he's this Krishna, that he's born to Nandagopa's son, is having such mandahasa muditana nambujam, is such a joyful and a blissful face, and he is the one who is being worshipped by Narada and all other munis. Narada Adi Muni Vrinda Vanditam. So such a Krishna I am talking about. I am asking you to also worship and think about such a Krishna. And this Krishna is the form okay, so here's the thing. Now, when you look at your child, you will always find your child to be beautiful. It doesn't matter how not so beautiful your child may look, right? For every mother, for every father, their own child is very beautiful. But Bhagavatam and other works talk about Krishna, who was found as beautiful by everybody, by many people. At least a lot of people around him. But yet he was dark. Shyama Krishna, right? He was Krishna himself. Krishna word means the dark one. So he was dark hued, but there was a beauty about him. This beauty doesn't have to be a physical beauty necessarily. Just by looking at the person, you may get attracted. There must be some, there's a word called Akarshana Shakti. That Akarshana Shakti, when you're attracted to something, that thing may appear beautiful. It is not that that thing is beautiful, hence you're attracted. There may be standards of beauty defined by the world. You may have this golden ratio and all of that. It may be that, may not be that. That's not important. But are you able to hold? Like Ramana Maharshi, if you take him to a beauty pageant, registration he'll get disqualified. Ramana Maharshi goes there and stands. I am coming for a beauty pageant, a beauty this thing now. இந்த மூஞ்சியை வச்சுட்டு இங்க வந்திருக்கல. He doesn't look beautiful in any ways, right? But there is an Akarshana Shakti that he has. If you look at his photos, the way he is just looking, you feel like you just want to keep looking at him. And then from somewhere you will say, Ayyo, evla alaga irukkulla appadinu. Now, what is this alaga? This alaga is not the beauty of, like for example, Hrithik Roshan looks very handsome, very beautiful. You can look at him for a little while. But only when the beauty comes from the heart, comes from the soul, then you kind of hold the world around you.
The Pondicherry mother could have
Pondicherry mother, correct, absolutely.
So powerful eyes, it will draw you.
Correct.
Focus on that.
So she was a psychic, right? She was a psychic. So she would have very, her eyes were very, there's like, very translucent eyes. So he is saying, Mandahasa mudita nanambujam. This anana of yours, anana means face, the lotus face, mandahasa, joyful, beautiful looking face. I keep meditating upon it, I keep looking at it. Right? So this joyful exchange that you're having with the face of Krishna, with the face of whoever is your Ishta, keep practicing that, keep bringing that image into your mind again and again. Then the manas becomes a Rajahamsa. It becomes like a royal swan. Like a royal swan will not go and swim in a swamp. Kichad means a swamp. It will not go and swim in a swamp. It will swim in the most exquisite pond in the lake of the king. That is where it will swim. A clean, beautiful lake of the king's, in the king's palace, in the king's courtyard. The Rajahamsa will swim there. In the same way, our mind should swim in that kind of a beautiful pond. which is that pond here is the reference to the thoughts, the sattvic thoughts of Bhagwan, devotional thoughts of Bhagwan. So our mind should swim in that kind of a lake. The next one also, he talks about how Krishna is the lake in which he is the fish and all of that. So I want to deep dive into that lake. He will go in the next verse, he will bring that idea. But here he is saying, let my mind revel upon this lake, swim in this lake, and then you dive into it. Diving into it is going much deeper. But let us at least start with thinking about the face. Keep bringing this. You have to keep bringing these thoughts, images, which is why we have photos, we have vigrahams. Why? You keep looking at those vigrahams, meditate upon the form, and let that form appear in your mind repeatedly whenever you want to bring that form into your mind. The effect of this is magical. Right? So as much as we keep repeatedly looking at these forms, and that is why Arati is done inside a temple precinct. In the Garbhagraha, Arati is done. And even if the Vadyar does not show the Vigrahams properly and does it quickly, please request him to show every Vigraham properly. You tell him, Swami, kunja nalla kaamingo, show properly. So you have to look at that face in that Agni. Look at that face and make an imprint of it. So that when you are sitting in your isolation, in your own self, that feeling of that Garbhagraha and the face and that Agni and that beautiful glowing face should come to your mind. So this is how we practice. And then our mind becomes a Rajahamsa. It becomes clean and it floats and swims in the entangled feet of the Lord, not in the entanglement of the world. So these are the two verses. It says, कृष्णत्वदीयपदपङ्कजपञ्जरान्तम् अद्यैव मे विशतु मानसराजहंसः प्राणप्रयाणसमये कफवातपित्तैः कण्ठावरोधनविधौ स्मरणं कुतस्ते चिन्तयामि हरिमेव सन्ततं मन्दहासमुदिताननाम्बुजं नन्दगोपतनयं परात्परं नारदादिमुनिवृन्दवन्दितम् ॐ कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि जगदम्बिकेति समर्पयामि सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि हरि ओं तत्सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः गुरुदेवा